Today is a beautiful day, first and foremost. Today is December 4th in the sidereal. It's Taurus full moon, and tropical, it's Gemini full moon. And I feel moody. I feel quite moody. I feel like I want to get certain things off my chest more with certain people in my life. However, it's like coming down to this countdown, coming down to this countdown that I feel it's kind of pointless at this point, or it's just wasted energy. I'm not going to say pointless, it's just wasted energy, and I could repurpose that energy for a better experience, a better reality. I don't want it to fall. No answer here. However, I trust the earth will treat me right and see that I'm not their enemy, and they just take it easy on me. I apologize if I'm sitting on any ants. They don't want to bite. Don't bite me. um, yeah, I just feel like there's certain things that I want to get off my chest with certain people, and honestly, it's just wasted energy. And I feel like it can be repurposed for something positive, something like this. I also feel like there's a lot of noise online and even in person, like day to day. I mean, before we had social media, we would be speaking with each other and asking each other questions, or, sharing ideas. And then it evolved to social media to where we can share our ideas, our trauma. And it's like a trauma cesspool online. It's always like, at this point, I feel like if you are in a situation that just didn't happen overnight, but it was a situation that, because you lack foresight, because you lack awareness, it has come to pressurized explosion. Now I can't help but not feel anything and to feel neutral about it. I am not responsible for other people's lack of awareness at this stage, because at this point it is a choice. It's always a choice. And you cannot deny the fact that every choice you've made, every single one that you've made, has led you to this moment right now. Whether that moment be you viewing this, whether that moment be you realizing your whole life situation and where you're at. That moment where you're happy where you're at, that moment where you're not happy where you're at. Regardless, every choice that you have made had led you to this or to that moment. I see a lot of individuals out there that are so adamant, or they have this level of certainty about how things are in the world and how they should be. And that's the biggest trap, is falling for the trap of certainty, because nothing is certain, and we live in a perpetual state of constant change along with uncertainty. The only certainty that you could ever come close to is the certainty of yourself, your true self, becoming one with your truest self. In those 2022 videos, that was a different version of me. And at that point in my life, every choice that I made had led me to that point, to where I'm surrounded by jealous women, jealous girls, always feeling like I'm being judged and gossiped about, feeling like an outsider, people pleasing, not being able to be my most honest, authentic self. Those are all choices. And now I'm not living in that anymore because I made different choices that had led me to this point. And like I said in my first video, if you watched why I find communication so difficult, or why communication is just so rare these days, is that I'm not a leader and I'm not a follower. I'm not here to lead you. I'm not here to guide you. All I can truly share is my experience, and whether if you want to take from it, so be it. I'm not really asking for direct validation, whether if you receive what I'm giving you and you say, hey, this is great. I'm not asking for that. I just want true intimacy, realness. I feel like everything is just so surface nowadays with people, where it's just like boring, because there's just so much more out there in the world than the day to day of what we have been living from the 21st century to 2019, from the beginning of the 21st century or the 20th century to 2019. Because you can't lie, these past 5 years, there's been so many astronomical changes, like astronomical, like the cosmology of just this whole universe is just under a whole transformation. And also, I have a mic. However, I'm going to eventually get a mic, but I just don't know how to set it up yet. And that's the biggest thing too with this YouTube stuff, is like, you know, oh, I don't have a mic, or I don't really have like the best skills of editing, or I don't have the app, or I don't have the space, or I don't have the time. You have everything. You honestly have everything you could possibly ever need. It's just the excuses, really, that is holding you back. And I'm just like you in that sense of having those excuses, feeling this sense of, oh, this has to be right. And that could be a form of perfection. However, what is perfection? Then my own standard. And that standard that I have within myself is kind of subjective. It's not really an objective truth of perfection. So that's why when people project this idea that they say, oh, you're a perfectionist, or you try to be perfect, it's kind of like empty words to me. And it seems like they're projecting because they probably have a wound in that area in their life. I'm just tired of taking other people's projections. I'm over it. I'm beyond it. And I'm just so excited to live this new life, this new experience, this new earth. I'm excited for the abundance that is coming our way, because I know that for certain. I'm like, I know people have certainty, but that's what I'm saying. You need to have certainty within yourself, not certainty within the external, but certainty within yourself, because the external is always uncertain. Everyone looks for certainty outside of themselves. No one looks for certainty within themselves. It takes a while. I will say that in 2022, I was struggling with vaping. That was quite a struggle. I don't even really like talking about it in the sense of like that I used to do it. There's a bit of shame behind it, but I think for me to alchemize that shame is by speaking about it, because I feel that there may be other people out there that struggle with vaping or addictions in general. And it started to get really concerning around like 2021, because in 2021 I had to inevitably move back over to the east coast of Florida, which I really didn't want to, because I knew the frequency and the hypnotic rhythm was low. However, my finances and just the circumstances of continuing to live over on the west coast of Florida was just not in alignment. So inevitably I moved over here to the east coast. That being said, I ended up contracting COVID and getting sick. And let me actually redact that. I ended up contracting the known sickness that everyone is aware of in 2020. And it starts with the C word and it ends with a 19. And I ended up getting like a weird lump in my throat. And I had this huge fear of it being the C word that ends with the R at the end. And I was just in this perpetual cycle of fear. I would literally wake up around like 5 a.m. with thoughts in my head that I continue to do this, like I'm going to get that. But I was still doing it. Still doing it. And it got to a point where I was just not happy with myself. I would be doing all these other things, like saying that I love myself, saying that, like I care about myself, but then love is an action word. It's not like a verbal thing that you just say. It has to deal with your actions. And the action of me is not loving to myself, to my body, to my mental health, to my hormones. It had me so confused. And now I can confidently say that I quit since November 5th, and I have not looked back at it since then. And the thing is, I don't feel like a resentment towards it because I'm glad that I was addicted to vaping, because ultimately it showed something within me that I can overcome any challenge. I genuinely thought I wasn't able to quit. I genuinely was about to accept my fate. But that wasn't a part of my destiny. Continuing vaping was not a part of my destiny. I mean, even now I have remnants of it here. It's still ever so slightly, but because I have been doing the work, and that work was introducing a new habit. That new habit was dry brushing, because I went to the doctor multiple times. I've got multiple doctor like opinions. I got a lot of like second opinions and things of that nature. I even got an ultrasound, and they said it was just a cyst. It's like, even getting all those second opinions, this and a third, in my mind, I still had so much fear. Fear of the fact that I am slowly killing myself because of an addiction. And once I finally picked up a new habit of dry brushing and letting go of the old habit, November 5th, and I also put a short up of myself where it says, I want change versus I choose change. Because the version of me when I was vaping, I wanted to change. I wanted to quit. I wanted to be healthy again. I wanted the lump in my throat to go away. I wanted all those things. But I wasn't doing anything to help that. And to say that I want those things showed the universe that I didn't have those things at all. It came from the want, came a version of lack. Came from a version of lack. And then I decided to make the choice. I chose that I wanted to be healthy. I chose health over immediate gratification. I chose stability. I chose autonomy. All of those things were a choice because I found my power in choice, not in want. And when I made that decision to replace, vaping with waking up every morning and dry brushing and, really moving my lymphatic system, because your lymphatic system doesn't have a natural pump like your blood does with your heart, and it pumps the blood throughout your body. Your lymphatic system is, activated through dry brushing, through exercise, through movement. And because I committed to the new habit, I was able to relinquish the old one, and I was able to bring a new positive habits, and I started seeing the decreasing of size in my cyst in my throat. All that effort and dedication and consistency was what helped me get to this point right now, what helped me get to this level of confidence, because that was the biggest thing with vaping or with any addiction, whether it be with food, materialism, sex, just drugs in general, any addiction, whether that be even your phone addiction, because people want to act all snooty and be like, oh, I'm not addicted to drugs, I'm better than them, and they're like, I gotta see the next post. And it's like, okay, it seems like you can't let your phone go, it seems like you're kind of addicted, but it's neither here nor there. Regardless, though, I had this weakened sense of willpower when I was holding on to the addiction. This is the addiction, this little rock here. When I was holding on to this addiction, and I would keep saying, I want to change, I want to quit. I want to change, I want to quit, I want. And it never happened. My willpower was just going down, just down, and I had no willpower, but I still had the addiction, still had the want to change, but I never chose to change. But when I finally let go of wanting it, and I finally chose it, that's when my willpower started to grow. And willpower, it comes from, with strength. A lot of people think you need to be strong to have strength. No. Strength comes from a weakened place, a weak place. And it's only then until you build that courage, and where you build that strength from a weakened place. So bask in the weakness. Be thankful that you are aware of a weak point or a weakness that you have. Be thankful for that, because that is the starting point. That will be the catalyst to strength that you build within yourself. I guarantee it. And that is the certainty that I found within myself. Not from any external source, not from any doctors telling me for certain that it's a cyst, not from any YouTube videos or anything like that. Not at all. It came from within. That's all that matters, is that the certainty is within yourself. And the reason why I paused a little bit is because some random guy was kind of like watching me there, and I was really channeling, but that usually tends to happen too when you're like in this channeled moment, or like when you're raising the frequency. It's like a moth to a flame. Always. You're always gonna have onlookers. You're always gonna have people, ooh, what they doing, ooh, I see them, what's going on over there? Spying and looking. And that's fine and all. At least learn something from it and become a better person. But I'm not a leader, and I'm not a follower.